The other stream I think is about to get started here. Should be up and running now. All right. Market just closed. We'll be going over the Qs, SPY, and IWM and going over today's plays. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for September 21st, 2021. Qs up 0.12, SPY down 0.1, and IWM 0.17. The expectation today was neutral day, right? Inside day. Now the SPY I think took out the high just by a little bit and then came right back in. Qs and SPY, and then Qs mostly inside day, and then IWM also took out the top by a little bit. But as you can see, all three across the board, right, relatively neutral bars here, especially, well, I guess Qs came in a little bit more here, but not much movement here, expecting a little bit of a pause today, right? So that's what we were looking for coming into today. Maybe we move up a little bit, maybe we come in a little bit, but mostly sideways. And I thought the scenario that would be the most challenging would be if right at the open this morning we get bought really hard, maybe we close the gap, something like that. That would be the scenario where having a bias on the market would be the most difficult. Okay. But that's not what we got. So that makes it easier. And I was thinking, today would be a little bit more neutral. And then as we move on to the end of the week, tomorrow and into the end of the week, we'll start to see more continued selling, more weakness. Now, what's nice about today's inside day here is that we got the pause. There's kind of two ways to do it. I'm going to start off with a little bit more aggressive approach, but they're not that much different. Okay, so what I'm thinking is underneath 365.60, this little pivot here on the Qs, and for the SPY, that's going to be 433.50 back to bearish. Okay, we had neutral bias today, but then back to bearish. So tomorrow morning, if we take that out, back to bearish, as long as we stay below today's high. So today's high is going to be the pivot, okay, the Qs and the SPY. I think the other way to do it, the other way that you could be a little bit less aggressive in starting the bearish bias is use today's low, okay, 364.99 on the Qs. So you can see they're not that different really. And then 433 on the SPY, okay? And so when we got this little move up, I was saying, we've gotten sold, we gotten extended, we got follow through in the gap. I'm expecting us to get some kind of sell set up at the 20 MA, and that kind of will be our guide. As someone pointed out the room, as far as if we go to the 1 hour instead of the 65 minute, which is what I use, the 1 hour got there, okay? Because the 1 hour has one extra bar than the 65, so it's gonna catch up a little bit faster. But, ultimately it's the same price action, right? And so the 20 MA is always just a little bit of a guide. It's not like a magic line or a magic resistance point or support point. It's really just, a easy way to process the charts, telling you which way the trend is going, telling you a good amount of retracement given the move that it's had prior to whatever extension was created by the price. Right, so that's all it is. So I think the fact that got to the hourly, is nice. That's another, what more or less we were expecting. Okay, so back to bearish tomorrow. If we take that out, which we are very close there, and then the other place you could have as the kind of trigger point is under that 433 on the SPY. Okay, all right, so that's the plan for tomorrow. If we trigger that and then we go back up and take out today's high, then we are no longer bearish. Okay, so that's the kind of the scenario where we lose the bearish bias. All right, so that's what we'll be looking out for the rest of the week. All right, let's get into some of today's plays. I didn't think there was all that much to do this morning. RWLK would have been really, really nice. 1 minute base breakout. I didn't happen to catch this. I think when I saw it, it was a little bit too far gone already. It's also a little bit on the sloppy side. There's that 1 minute breakout in the morning. Here's what the gap looked like here on the RWLK. Not that different than the VSTM that we tried to play yesterday, that I tried to play yesterday. So just didn't get the same amount of follow through on that breakout, but similar type of gap. RWK definitely much, much better. And then the only numbers I gave you in the afternoon were on the COLD. So I didn't think there was that much. Didn't give you really any numbers in the morning. I thought there were some interesting things here and there. I mentioned them while I was on the mic, but was kind of waiting for a better setup. Now, the thing on the cold that I am happy about doing, that I think I did a good job with, not necessarily the management or the entry, it's the patience in the morning. So when I found the cold, it was already, I think, like this, right? And that's too far gone. We can't be jumping into this thing short now. You can maybe look to see if this goes climactic to play to the upside, but it never did, right? Turned into a base. And you don't want to be playing a low of the day base long. A lot of these are going to fail. See that? Tried to bounce, because it's really, really weak, okay? The market was gapping up a little bit. This was gapping down, right? And looking weak on every time frame. So you don't want to be trying to pick the bottom on something that looks lower on every time frame, right? Doesn't matter how extended or how much it's already dropped, percentage-wise or otherwise, okay? So, so that was the cold. I even mentioned it in the morning. I wish I had found this earlier, but there's nothing you can do. It wasn't on our gaps list. It was a late find, and so I put it on a chart and waited, okay? Didn't let kind of wishing I was in it or getting bored because I didn't have a trade open at any point, at some point, right? That I just decided, okay, well, this is the best thing. I just want to be playing something, right? So waited. And so it wasn't until, I don't know how many hours later, finally 5-minute base, 5-minute catches up, 20 MA, and then we get the breakdown, okay? Now, I didn't manage this all that well. I did take partial there and then the rest here, which it really did not trail off the hourly. So technically I should have been in this until end of day, which you can see it close at the very lows at the end of the day. So, you know, the management wasn't all that great. Even the entry could have been a little bit better. I decided to wait for low of the day to get taken out. This box here that's highlighted actually is fine to play. You get in about 10 cents earlier than here. So yeah, so, you know, those things could have done a little bit better, but I think, yeah, what I did well today was kind of staying focused from beginning to end. And even if, you know, the morning I thought was a little bit sloppy, and I missed out on a couple really nice moves, just trying to stay kind of objective until the end of the day. Okay, so this kid didn't come up till the afternoon, right? It's always nice. You start off the day really well. It's a little bit easier to kind of stay engaged. Sometimes, you know, things don't start off the way you want them to, or you feel like, you know, things aren't setting up the way you want them to. So it tests your patience a little bit. But I'm glad that I did not rush into this play or any other plays after missing a couple nice ones at the open. Okay, so I think that was good on the cold. All right, so, you know, I think market movement volatility is going to be really important for the next couple weeks, just because we don't have gaps, as many good gaps, and if the market's gapping, that's going to create a lot of the gaps. We don't have earnings going on, so yeah, that's going to be a little bit more key. Sometimes during earnings season, if we're getting increased market volatility, we can still focus on the things that are on their own page. There's going to be a little bit less of that, I think, or most likely, unless, you know, sectors get hit really hard or certain news comes out and affects very specific names. But without a lot of earnings lists, you know, it's going to be that much more important to have a market bias and having some kind of expectation of when that might change. Okay. All right. Hope you did well today. We'll be back at it tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.